So go ahead, next slide. So we're recording the training. That way, if anybody else wants to watch it, they can do that later. They'll be available on our website. And then if you have any questions, wait till the end of the presentation and then we'll go ahead and answer those. The Kitsap Housing and Homelessness Division homepage is where it'll be stored. Next. So we've got myself, Carl Borg, the program manager, Virginia McCausland, the grants program analyst, Corey Durenberger, program specialist, and Leah Nolan, the contracts coordinator. If you have questions afterwards, Virginia or myself would be your best one to email or call if you have questions for that. So what I want to do is do an overview of all the funding sources of the shelter operations RFP application process. The state fiscal year 26-27 grant application. So that'll be the CHG applications as well as shelter. Filling out the application in SurveyMonkey, and then application review and the awards process, and then getting help and questions. Then we'll have Q&A at the end. So funding overview, the existing funding sources will continue. Consolidated Homeless Grant, that's the primary source for shelter operations. We have been advised by Commerce there's a reduction in funding, but the state budget has not been signed by the governor, so we do not have any solid numbers yet on those. We'll offset with local funding as needed. So if there's, if we have a reduction, we can make sure the shelter operations are our top priority. We have the Affordable Housing Grant Program, which the Homeless Housing Grant Program, which follow our county year, which is January 1 through December 31st. And then if we need more funding from those two, we'll add those into that. So for the 26-27, the minimum award responses for this are 10,000. Awards are for 1 year, and then a second year of funding is anticipated to be available through a renewal process. So depending upon when the Bremerton shelter comes online, if it's the end of the first year, then they would apply at that point. So next slide. So low barrier, which is what the Bremerton shelter will be. 80% of the programs funded by CHG are required to be low barrier. If they do have a family, they can actually do background checks to make sure kids are safe within there. So that's like the Pacific Building has families, and they do background checks for arson, sexual violence, and then violence. And then Commerce has a specific definition of low barrier with multiple criteria surrounding the operations of the program and screening criteria. And those are all available in the CHG guidelines, which are, we've got those linked on our site also. So the way we fund shelters is through a bed rate model. We do that so it's not competitive. So we pay the agency a fixed amount per year for each shelter bed that meets the requirements listed below and requires at least a 90% utilization rate. It's not anticipated that the listed bed rates will fund the full cost of operating any shelter. It's expected that other funding will need to be raised by the agency to cover the difference. It'll range anywhere from 30 to 50% depending upon the size of your shelter and the size of the budget. These are our estimated bed rates, and we'll have those finalized as soon as we get the governor's budget signed and Commerce sends us our budget. So drop-in shelters are $3,756 per bed per year. Low barrier drop-in, and those are not continuous stays. So that's if they come in, spend the night, and then leave again during the day. Those are $4,695 per bed per year. Continuous stay shelter, which is what the Pacific Building is, as well as numerous other shelters, up to $5,039 per bed per year. And then low barrier continuous stay shelters, that would be what the Bremerton shelter will be, would be 6,299 per bed per year. That may go up or down depending upon what we get from Commerce. Okay,
so I'll take over and I'll cover the overview of the application process. So the application process for the shelter operations is using the same platform that we've used in our prior cycles, which is the application platform called SurveyMonkey Apply. Multiple funding sources will use this platform, which is the one used by CDBG, our homeless housing and services, NOFA competitive grant, SIA, and the 10th 1% for mental health funds. We all use the same platform. The shelter operations application is not occurring on the CGAP cycle, where this is happening earlier as a standalone RFP, but it's using the same platform. Applications for the shelter operations will open today at noon, so that's May 13th at noon. The application deadline is June 4th at 3 p.m. The application consists of two parts. A part one, organization application. You'll complete this once for your organization. And then a part two, which is the application specific to the shelter operations. And you'll complete one application for each shelter project. So specific for the shelter operations grant application is the part one organization information. So there's actually two applications you have to complete on our platform. Part one is the organizational application, which includes information about your overall organization, including things like organization chart, board information, agency budgets, financial statements and audit, fiscal and procurement policies, and non-discrimination policies and procedures. And then part two is specific about the shelter or program for which you're applying. And in this case, it's the shelter operations application. And that consists of four parts, which is a program description, identifying program requirements required for contracting, financial information, and then shelter operations program performance measures. So a complete application contains two separate application parts in SurveyMonkey Apply. You must complete the full organization information 2026 application, and you must complete the full SFY 2026-2027 shelter operations application. So where to find information about this? You can go to our webpage. The short link for that is kcowa.us/kchhd, or you can search online for Kitsap County Housing and Homelessness Division. You can find more detailed information about the requirements for shelter operations for our RFP. The RFP contains information about eligibility for organizations, make sure that they meet eligibility requirements. It will contain information about the amount of money that's available, the process to apply and submit, and staff contact information. The RFP is your guide to applying for this project. You can also check our policy plans, which includes detailed information about the regulations and requirements for each fund type that we operate through our division. And SurveyMonkey Apply for if you're having if you're using the platform and you have questions about some of the technical details within the platform, it does have a great help section available. And you can also contact staff by email for questions or for technical assistance in your application. Basics demonstration. So the application is 100% online. Starting today, this application will go live on our website at apply-kitsap.smapply.io. New applicants will need to create a new account. Returning applicants will log in with an existing account and then get started. Make sure to save your work often. You may save, log out, resume later where you left off. You can also have multiple members in your organization working on applications or separate parts of applications. For new applicants, how to access the grant application website and create a new user account. So from the apply-kitsap website, there, click on the register link along the top of the website to begin registering a new primary account. So creating a primary account will then allow that user to create sub-users, which can be collaborators applying for an application. It does have strong password requirements, and you'll need to check off that you are not a robot before you can create an account. After you register, you'll receive a confirmation email, and you must verify your account using the link in the email. You will be able to use the application, but you will not be able to submit your application until you have verified your account through that link in the email. Manage your organization. So after creating a primary account, you'll need to complete some basic information about your organization. This is separate from the organizational application, where our staff are collecting information to determine eligibility for your program. The organization here is related to setting up basically a user group for your program. From here, you'll put in your organization name, and you'll have to include your organization name and a tax ID number. After you've completed that screen, you have registered successfully. For returning and new applicants, we'll discuss how to access the website, how to reset passwords if you're a prior user and need to reset your password, how to add members or collaborators, and how to change your primary account user. So if you are an existing user and you've lost your password, you can go to the home page and click Login. Under the password field, click Forgot Your Password and enter the email address that you used to log into the website. Then click Send Instructions. It will send you a link to your email with a link to reset your password. If you have multiple users that'll be working together on an application, use the following steps to create user accounts for your members. After logging in with the primary account, select Manage Organization from the menu bar. To add members or collaborators, click on the Members tab and then select Add Member button. From here, you will be able to create members that you'll be adding on to your organization that can work on applications which you have started. So you'll put in their first and last name and email, identify the role that they have in your application, and make sure to check Notify Member by email that they have been added. And the new member will then select the Join Now link in their invitation email. Transferring the primary account. So if an organization is first registered, the user that registered the organization will become the primary administrator. If you're the primary administrator, you have the option of transferring this access to another member of the organization. So to do so, you would log in to your account, click on Manage Organization in the top right corner, choose Profile, and then click Transfer Primary Administrator and select the new primary administrator. Then you can click Transfer. So if you've had staff turnover or the person who initially created the primary user account is in new roles or in a new organization, that person will be able to move the primary account ownership to another user on this platform. If you have issues with this, you can contact our staff for further assistance. Creating an application. So we're going to discuss an overview of the application site, viewing the available application types, and creating an organizational information project application. So on the website, after you log in, you'll arrive at your dashboard. From here, if you are an existing user, it will show prior applications that you have submitted on this platform. If you have not submitted other applications or you're a new user, that will show up on a blank screen with a list of programs to which you can apply. From here, click on the programs link in the menu bar to see the programs that are available on the website now for new applications. That will take you to a program page. Right now on our website, you'll see that there are 3 applications that are open right now, which are the Organizational Information 2026, the SFY 2026-2027 Shelter Operations, and the 10th of 1% for Mental Health, Chemical Dependency, and Treatment Services application. Other applications will be added to the website as we approach the dates that those applications will open. To start an application, click on the More button for the application to which you're applying. And it will take you to a program page which provides an overview of the program, which will include general instructions about how to navigate. So there will be a PDF that's attached that will include information on how to navigate the website, how to download information, how to upload information, how to submit your applications, and information about reviewing and editing your applications. We recommend printing these instructions for your easy reference. There'll be a set of application instructions. These are question-by-question guidance on answering questions and filling out the application. The application instructions include every question that is on the application that you'll need to complete. We recommend using these as a Word document. You can write in the Word document to write up your narrative questions and then paste that into this application. Forms and worksheets. So most applications will contain a budget and sources of financing worksheet, performance measures, and other documents you'll need to complete and attach to your application. These forms are available now before the applications go live and are also linked within the applications themselves on the questions to which they refer. So part 1 for your organizational information application, every organization must complete one organizational information application. So if you are running multiple programs or applying to multiple different applications or fund sources for other projects like mental health or affordable housing through the SIA program or for CDBG, you'll just complete the organizational information application one time for any of the other applications that you're submitting. The due date for the organizational information application for this particular project is on June 4th. To start your organizational information application, you'll click the Apply button. And then on the information section, there's a list of resource documents, which are all the attachments and instructions related to the application. You'll be able to download and view those before the application goes live. So you'll want to name your application. This is for your organization, so you'll want to give this your agency or organizational name. Then the organizational information application contains 3 separate task pages. The first page is your organizational information. This will collect information about your organizational chart, board members, worksheet, which you'll upload and attach. You'll upload your bylaws and your annual board minutes. Task 2 is related to your staff, agency, and budget. And so here you'll upload your agency budget, financial statements, balance sheet, cash flow, and audit is needed. And then page 3 or task 3 is your agency's financial, fiscal, and policies. So you'll upload your IRS 990 tax return, agency annual report if available, fiscal control policies, procurement policies, and non-discrimination policies. You must complete all the questions on a page before you can mark the task complete. You can save your work frequently. You can save and continue editing. There's a button at the bottom of each page where you can save before submitting. The safest method is to download the instructions and complete all the narratives on other forms prior to working in the SurveyMonkey Apply website. Less safe is you can work directly in the SurveyMonkey site and using placeholder answers and uploading temporary files, but beware that if you attach temporary files and you don't replace them with the correct files to which you need to submit your application, it could be rejected. Part 2 is related specifically to the shelter operations application. As you can see, this page contains information about when this application opens. It'll have links to our RFP, instructions, and a zip of the files needed to upload or attach to your application. To apply for the shelter operations RFP, click the Apply button in the program. And then you'll name your application. So here you want to include your agency name or acronym and the name of your shelter for this application. It's very important to include your organization name or acronym so that we know for an application which shelter is connected to which organization. This will bring you to your application dashboard. There will be a series of tasks which you'll need to complete before you can submit the application. And if you have additional members to add to your application, so if you've got other team members that are going to complete portions of this application, there'll be a link in the left-hand menu where you can add those members here. And those are members that you've added through the website itself. The application dashboard will display tasks with complete circles will be green with a check mark. Tasks that have been started will contain a half circle, and tasks that have not been started are an empty circle. That will display the number of tasks that are complete. And when all tasks are complete, the submit button will show up on the page in green, and the applicants will be able to review and submit the application. So there are 4 tasks related to the shelter operations RFP. The first is the program description. This will collect information about your shelter. So the location, the service area, the number of people served, contact staff member that's submitting the application, your contract signer. You'll indicate on here the type of shelter beds that are provided, whether it's a drop-in or continuous stay shelter. And then there will be 3 questions related to the low barrier criteria. We'll check off the criteria which your organization meets to be considered low barrier. If you meet some but not all of the criteria, and we may be able to ask for certain exemptions, there will be a question that pops up about that if you'd like to request some kind of an exemption. You'll include information about your program staff and any program staff or staff changes within the last 6 months or anticipated in the next 6 months, and any challenges for your program. Task 2 is the program requirements. This will contain responses for information about your use of coordinated entry referrals, the use of the bed availability tool, how you collect data and enter that data into HMIS, information about your current bed utilization rate, how you coordinate with other agencies, your shelter's complaint process, and then the evidence-based practices for your staff, and housing case management, and questions about how your organization is advancing racial equity. Task 3 is about financial information. So there will be a worksheet here called the Sources of Financing and Budget, which you'll need to complete. I'll discuss that in the next slide. You'll include information about any funding commitments that have been made, as it's documented in your financial sources of financing worksheet. If you've got committed funding, you'll need to attach files, which might include a letter of those funding commitments. You'll include information about your program staff and their job descriptions, how your board is involved with your program and for fundraising, and your sustainability plan. The shelter operations and budget financing worksheet will be attached. It will contain 3 worksheets. One is an instructions worksheet, one is a sources of financing worksheet, and the last is a budget worksheet. The sources of financing worksheet allows you to select your shelter bed types and input the number of beds to determine your award estimated amount based on the annual bed rate. Their selections are drop-in shelter low barrier, continuous stay shelter, and continuous stay shelter low barrier. So if you believe that you meet all or most of the low shelter barrier requirements and you intend to operate your shelter as low barrier, select that from the pick list. The bed rates will depend on the type of shelter beds, and additional funding is provided if services are low barrier. Input other funding sources information from federal, state, or other local funding, excluding the funding in this request, and any applicant private sources or in-kind sources. So we're collecting all of the funds that your program uses from many different sources to determine how much funding is available to operate your shelter in total, in addition to the funds provided through this RFP. When you've input the total amount of funding from your multiple sources of funding, you'll need to complete a budget worksheet, which you break down how you intend to spend the funding based off of different cost categories from both this shelter operation award and from your overall other funds to operate your program. If you have other expenses that need descriptions that are not one of the cost categories or items that are in the list, you may add your own. You'll have to write a description for those. At the bottom of the worksheet, there will be a section which highlights in red if the total amounts from the sources of financing totals don't match the budget. You'll need to make sure that any errors that are highlighted in red or italicized are addressed before you can attach and submit this budget worksheet. The final task is shelter operations performance measures. This right now is relatively short. You'll just indicate the number of unduplicated individuals that will be served in the shelter during one state fiscal year, and state fiscal year 2026, and the number of unduplicated households that will be served. The performance measures are still being worked on from the Department of Commerce. Those statewide metrics will be passed through to subcontractors. If you are operating a drop-in emergency shelter, the expected performance measures will be that 50% or more of clients exit to positive outcomes. If you're operating a continuous stay shelter, the expectation or target is that 50% or more of clients will exit to a permanent housing destination from your shelter. And all interventions will have racial and ethnic demographics that are not to be significantly less than the overall rate for those that are served or exited to housing destinations. More information will be provided on that once we've received those final measures from Commerce. To edit a completed task, so if you have completed part of an application and you have saved and it's marked as complete, if you need to go back in and edit that application, you may do so at any time up until the deadline when the application automatically closes. To do so, you'll go into the task, and there's a 3-button menu that you'll click on the upper right-hand side, and from here you can select edit so that you can go back and make any changes needed. Once you have completed all of the tasks on your organizational information or for your shelter operations application, all of the task will have green checkboxes marked for each of the tasks, and a submit button will now be shown in the left-hand menu. Once all those tasks are complete, you can submit, and your application will be submitted as complete. You'll receive an email from the system once you submit. You may edit your application I have an error on this slide. You may edit your application up until June 4th at 3 p.m. when the application closes. Every application must include both parts, both part 1, the organizational information, and part 2, the state fiscal year 2026-2027 operations application. Both must be completed, both must show submitted in order for your application for this RFP to be considered complete. So tips for a great application: give the full story about your project within the parameters of the questions and instructions provided. Have someone else proofread and check for clarity, content, and continuity. Double check your math. Do the budget forms correctly. As I said, they do have error correction on them to show where errors may exist. Please make sure that those forms are completed correctly. Make sure to upload the correct forms. So you may want to name your final forms for your organization name when you attach it. And make sure to review that the form that you're uploading is the one you intend to attach. Don't wait until the last minute to submit your application. So for assistance, so if you have technical assistance needed, the SurveyMonkey Apply website has a good assistance help section. You can click the I button in the menu bar to show a list of options. You can read their help or FAQ that they have on site. They also have where you can submit questions through there as well, which may go to the site staff or to us. If you have a question about the application, so what does this question mean? What information are we looking for on a particular question? If there's an issue that you have with an attachment, or what to do if you have a document which doesn't exactly match what we're asking for in the application, you have questions about it, that's when you'd reach out to our division staff. So if it's an issue using the site, use the site help. If it's a question about the application that you're submitting to us, reach out to us. So review and award process. Risk assessment and eligibility review will be completed after the application deadline. So staff will review all applications submitted for organization and program eligibility to determine if programs are eligible and for what fund sources. And the awards, shelter operations funding awards for CHG, AHP, and HHCP are announced on 6/12 of 25, so that's June 12th. The program year will begin on July 1st of 2025. So if you are needing help with your application, please reach out to our staff, Carl Borg, Virginia McCaslin,